It's crunch time at the Capitol. Just 9 days before Sine Die, and the religious freedom debate is hotter than ever. Is Georgia on its way to becoming a place where the LGBT community feels shut out? Does the faith community have legitimate concerns about protecting its beliefs and business interests? Tough questions, no easy answers. Plus, it's the day after Super Tuesday, with Trump and Clinton the clear winners. How are legislators reacting? Lawmakers starts right now. Welcome to Lawmakers. I'm Bill Nigut. It's day 31 of the 2016 session of the General Assembly. The craziness of crossover days behind us, and so is the Super Tuesday primary. But if you like drama with your politics, there's still plenty to be had. We'll get to one of the most persistent and thorny issues, the religious freedom legislation, in just a moment. But first, our nightly Capitol report. Shelby Lin has news on some important bills, on an important bill that could really help when children aren't able to live with their parents. Hiya, Shelby.
That's right, Bill. It's called kinship care. We're following a series of measures dealing with issues relating to kinship caregivers. House Minority Leader Stacey Abrams is one of the lawmakers leading the charge to help those caregivers. She sponsored or co-sponsored half of the 9 bills in the House this session. The legislation would help address some of the imbalances that currently exist between the foster care system and the thousands of families in Georgia providing kinship care, or basically raising a relative's child.
You have this informal system known as kinship caregiving. That's typically grandparents raising grandchildren, aunts, uncles, or what they call fictive kin, which are close family friends who are so close to the family that they often operate like an aunt or an uncle. We have more than 128,000 children who are in kinship care right now, meaning that they're being raised by people other than their parents.
That's the number in Georgia, but it could be even higher because unlike the foster care system, which is regulated by the state, there's no state system governing kinship care. House Minority Leader Stacey Abrams says that's part of the problem, and she says the number of kinship caregivers, such as they're known, are on the rise. Abrams wants to make sure the state is providing every benefit possible to these families.
The reality is that when children are in kinship care versus foster care, they're less likely to have behavioral problems, they're less likely to drop out of school, they're more likely to have the stability they need to have a full and thoughtful and fruitful life. And so what we want to do is help support these kinship care families as much as possible.
There's currently a patchwork of federal and state programs that support kinship care families in some way, but Abrams says the system as a whole needs to be integrated. The 9 House bills introduced this session would have addressed most of the major issues facing kinship caregivers, but only 4 of them passed by crossover day. One of them, Abrams' House Bill 957, for example, would require that probate courts post notices that low-income grandparents and other family members can file court documents for free. Laura Wells is a program director for the nonprofit Innovative Solutions on Disadvantage and Disability. She leads a support group called Project Grand.
If one of my grandparents walks into the probate court and wants to adopt their grandchild that they're now raising or just get guardianship, they don't have the money to pay for a lawyer. And up until now, many of my grandparents didn't know that there was something called a pauper's affidavit, which they're saying in this bill, if they pass it, will be posted for everyone to see in the probate court.
HB 957 is now in the Senate's hands, and so are the other 3 bills on kinship care that passed the House. Wells says kinship caregivers really need some help from the state. After all, she explains, they helped Georgia save more than $9 million last year that would have been spent on fostering the children now in their care.
Most of the grandparents I work with are on a fixed income. Think about it, they've retired, they're not working, they get maybe Social Security in a very small sum, and they're trying to feed and clothe and pay for activities. I have 2 children myself, a 12-year-old and an almost 9-year-old. And I can barely afford it. And my husband and I, we have a 2-salary household. And I don't know how these grandparents do it. They're often calling me saying, we don't have enough food to get through the month. We can't pay our light bill this month. And all of this is because they stepped up to do the right thing for their grandchildren. Otherwise, they'd be fine.
Laura Wells' Project Grand includes not only grandparents, but other family members and even close friends who are also raising the children of relatives. We'll continue tracking these measures, Bill, as they move through the legislature. Today was the first day back for lawmakers since Monday's crossover marathon, but unlike Monday, it was a much slower pace here at the Capitol today. Over in the Senate, there were 2 House bills on the calendar today. One of them deals with floats, like rafts and inner tubes that are used on lakes and ponds in Georgia. HB 172 is called the Floating Under the Influence bill. It would allow adults to drink alcohol during recreational fun on the water, as long as they're using a watercraft that does not have a motor. The bill also requires the individual remain within 100 feet of the shoreline. But the Senate decided not to take any action on the measure because the House didn't vote on any Senate bills today.
I've heard some disturbing news that even though we are past crossover day, the House did not consider any Senate bills today. And
that is correct.
Since the day is late, I would go ahead and move that the Senate stand adjourned pursuant to House Resolution.
No.
We'll table those bills, and then I got another motion for you. I move that we table both bills on our calendar today.
Senators are moving that we table both of the House bills that are on the calendar today. Is there objection? Without objection, both of those bills will be laid on the table, and hopefully we will get a little action out of the House as it relates to some of the Senate bills.
Also in the Senate, lawmakers took the time to recognize 2 members who are retiring after this session. Senator Bill Jackson of Appling says he won't run for re-election. He served in the Senate since 2007.
There's a time to start your political career, and there's a time to go. And one monkey don't stop a show. This institution will live on, and it'll be as strong and as good as the great country of the United States of America. God bless you, and thank you forevermore. Thank you.
Also announcing his retirement, State Senator Tommy Williams of Lyons. Williams says after 18 years of service, he wants to spend more time with his family.
You have this precious time when they're in their formidable years when they need daddy at home. So lastly, I just want to thank you for the great friendships and the fun I've had in this chamber. It has just been hilarious at times, it's been difficult at times, it's been stressful at times, but when it's all said and done, I have made friends here that I will take into eternity, and I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
And Bill, today's announcement by Senator Jackson was expected. He hinted earlier this might be his last term in office. But Senator Williams, his decision was more of a surprise to especially veteran reporters here at the Capitol. Both senators will serve out the remaining months of their 2-year terms through the end of 2016. That's all we've got, Bill. Back to you in the studio.
All right. Thank you very much, Shelby. Let's turn to our conversation tonight with our guests. Senator Emanuel Jones. He is a Democrat who represents Decatur. And Senator Greg Kirk, a Republican from Americus. He is also the author of what is most probably argued about the most argued over piece of legislation this session. I'm going to start figuring out how to say my words straight so we can have this conversation. Before we talk about this, let's say a word about Bill Jackson and Tommy Williams. I mean, Bill Jackson, it seems to me, has a career, if he wants it, playing country preachers in Hollywood pictures. I mean, he's really got that style about him, right?
He does, absolutely.
And he's got a heck of a voice, too.
Oh,
he can
that's
sing.
part of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Remarkable. And Tommy Williams gets to go back to South Georgia and continue with his terrific olive oil business. He produces a wonderful olive oil from down there.
Award-winning olive oil, and then he's got a restaurant business. He's an entrepreneur. He's got several businesses.
Kind of like Senator Jones.
Much like Senator Jones.
Well, I've enjoyed serving with him these last 12 years I've been in the legislature, and he has definitely been a gentle person the entire time.
Yeah.
And respect on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, Tommy Williams and Bill Jackson are both smart and very, very well liked. I think they'll be missed in the state Senate. So just wanted to say a couple words. Thank you for joining me on that. All right, let's turn to the religious freedom bills that are moving through the Capitol, or maybe not moving through the Capitol right now, and we'll find out where they're headed. As we get started, Senator Kirk, let's remind people that you are the author of the First Amendment Defense Act, a measure that was attached to the Pastor Protection Act when that bill passed the House, came over to the Senate, passed there. Your amendment was added to it, and there's a lot of controversy over whether it should be there. Before we begin discussing it, let's say what's happened this past week or so with Governor Deal. The governor has decided he wants to get involved in figuring out how to resolve all this, and he said this: I do not want us to do anything that will be perceived as allowing discrimination in the state of Georgia. That's not who we are as a people. I don't think we have to do that in order to give the security that the faith-based community thinks we need. I want to make sure we don't go out of balance. So, Senator Kirk, we have gone over this any number of times. You believe that your bill does not open the door for individuals, businesses, to discriminate against gays, lesbians, anyone else they don't want to do business with, right?
Well, I think the bill is equal in that it recognizes marriage as being between two people, and we've talked about that enough. But I think that we need to recognize, I agree with the governor, we don't want to, that's not who we are as Georgians, but we got to recognize that when the Supreme Court made the decision to change the definition of marriage, that millions of Georgians and millions of Americans have held for thousands of years that marriage is between a man and a woman. When the Supreme Court changed that and said, no, it's going to be between two people, be it same-sex or traditional marriage, that's changed the dynamics of our country. So we've got a tough agenda ahead of us to try to figure out how to balance this out. And that's what I'm trying to do with this bill.
Protects a business from, it protects a business that wants to not work with a gay or lesbian couple, for example. Isn't that right?
It protects a faith-based organization. One of the things that may come out of this bill is that companies that want to be on the border and say, well, yeah, I'm kind of faith-based, but I'm kind of this, that, maybe they need to just say, hey, yeah, we either are or we're not. And commerce is going to drive business in this state. It always has. It will continue to drive business.
Senator Jones, Senator Kirk always says, this is about a faith-based organization, a Christian adoption agency or whatever. But there are people down at the Capitol who believe it's far broader than that this could give businesses the right to say, we don't want to serve gays and lesbians in our restaurant. You know what? We don't want to serve divorced people in our restaurant. Where do you stand on that?
It is far broader than that, and I would encourage the senator to go back and read the language in his own bill, because clearly in this bill it says faith-based or any other entity. And when they define faith-based, it's a very loose definition of faith-based. All you need is a governing statement or some kind of mission statement, and you can be considered a faith-based organization. That's what the governor was alluding to, and if the senator agreed with the governor, he would withdraw this bill, bring it back over to the Senate so we can continue to work on it.
Well, and I would just respond to that to say it also talks about is dealing with one thing, and that is the definition of marriage and how that faith-based organization defines marriage. And it only deals with government being able to have adverse reactions to a business as a result of their definition of marriage.
So, Senator, we've discussed this before, as you well know, but I think we're going to keep discussing it because it's a very important piece of legislation.
Right.
What do you know? I know that this measure is back in the hands of the House right now.
Right.
Judiciary Chair Wendell Willard was here last week, and he basically suggested that he might not get around to appointing a conference committee, if that's what's needed, till pretty late on day 40. It sounds like the House wants to slow this down. But in the meantime, the governor is now stepping in. Have you been informed to any extent of what the governor is hoping to do that might make the entire package more palatable to the business community, which has been pretty opposed to First Amendment Defense Act?
Well, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that, Bill, because the business community has been at the table, and I've been at the table with them, and a lot of the language in the bill came right out of the business community as well, because we're trying to strike that balance. It's a difficult thing. This is not a Georgia issue. This is an issue for the whole country. We're just taking the lead on the issue, and that's why it's so difficult to try to figure out how to bring this balance about without alienating or ostracizing any group of people.
The business community may have been at the table, but the Metro Chamber of Commerce, the Georgia Chamber of Commerce this week, Twitter, Coca-Cola, Delta, they've been pretty adamant in saying they don't like the First Amendment Defense Act.
And they have been pretty adamant about it. They were at the table, but they didn't want any part of this legislation because they recognized the impact it would have potentially on the economy of the state, which some is estimated to be as high as $2 billion. We got an example of what happened in Indiana. Georgia shouldn't follow that fiscal cliff that Indiana did and see the impact of businesses withdrawing from our state. There was an announcement made today by Kevin Williams, who owns 373K in DeKalb County, and he said he's moving his headquarters. We don't want that kind of reaction from our business community, and if this bill proceeds to move any further, that's exactly what we're going to get.
Senator, let's listen, or let's take a look at what Speaker Ralston has said most recently. I think we're going to put it up on the screen. Ralston says he seeks to get calm heads around the table and people that don't have a political agenda. He doesn't name anyone specifically, but I think he is saying, tell me if I'm wrong, that he understands that there are many people in the House and Senate who have to go back and run re-election campaigns.
Right.
And your constituents in some of your districts feel strongly that gay marriage was a bad idea for the Supreme Court to allow. And they're looking for you to make some, create some legislation that says you stand on their side. Is that a fair comment?
We've done that. That bill that the Speaker sent over to the Senate, HB 757, did not have this First Amendment defense.
And that was going to be my question.
What they've done.
The Pastor Protection Act, I think, was clearly an attempt by the House to try to give you something to take home to your constituents and say, look, I'm trying to do my best.
Right.
Why push it further?
Well, because one of our colleagues in the Senate asked me several weeks ago now, said, why are you doing this? And I said, because it's the right thing to do. And that's the way I still feel. It's the right thing to do. There's just so many things that are left unaddressed as a result of this ruling by the Supreme Court. And if we don't address them now, then they'll be addressed in our courts, and that's only going to be bad for business in Georgia as well.
Let me go back, if I may, to a question that I asked, and you may not know the answer to this. Are you aware of what the governor thinks might be an appropriate form that this bill could take so that it's palatable to just about everyone? Have you heard anything from his office? Are they talking to you? Are you included in have you gone down to the second floor to see the governor?
Well, the governor and I have had some conversations, and early on, back in December, I was on a television show back home, and they asked me point blank, where's the governor stand on this? And I said, well, the governor's going to kind of wait and see how it goes through the sausage process through the House and the Senate before, he'll sign on. And I think that's where he's at now, too. He's wanting us to come together and to form some language that will, again, be more palatable to everyone.
And we tried to do that in the Senate when we offered up amendments to this bill. We fought this bill, meaning the Democrats fought this bill vociferously in the Senate. And there was no amendments that was even being considered on the bill, and we were voted down. If my colleague feels that this was the right thing to do, why is so many people out in Georgia feel it's the wrong bill? And we need to ask that question because all of my constituents that I represent and others that I've heard from the community have been against this bill. It's a bad deal.
But I'm assuming that your constituents and many of the supporters on your side have been hearing the opposite from their constituents.
Absolutely.
Which is why we are at this loggerhead, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of Georgians that do support this bill.
Well, I don't agree with that because we have to do what's right for all people.
Okay.
We cannot ostracize a certain segment of our population. If you look at this bill, it's nothing more than legalized discrimination against the LGBT community. We can't do that. We should have a higher calling as elected officials and not listen to that lowest element in our community.
So, point well made, but so let me ask you about this before we have to take a break. Would all of this be much better if Georgia had a civil rights statute that specifically protected gays and lesbians? There was an attempt to pass a measure like that with gays and lesbians included earlier in the session, and it got shut down. Would you be more willing to accept? What if that statute existed? It exists in so many other states. Why not here resolve the whole issue that way?
Well, I mean, that's one of the avenues I guess we could explore and look at, but I think, as you pointed out earlier, they've already, somebody addressed that bill and it just didn't go anywhere.
Shut down.
It looks like we're not ready for that. So again, it takes us back to the drawing board. We got to continue to work and try to figure out how to bring this together. And again, this is not a Georgia issue. This is an issue for our whole nation. We're just taking the lead.
What if you get the Pastor Protection Act and nothing else this session? Will you be satisfied?
No.
You want more?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we need to do more.
We got to take a break. We will. You want to say one last word? I've given both of you a chance, but I want to make sure you get your final word.
And thank you. This bill needs to die a certain death in the House. And in regards to the governor has clearly spoken. This bill has gone through the House, it's gone through the Senate. Both sides has weighed in. What we have now is a mess. And the governor has already spoken, and I like the words that the governor has said, and I agree with it.
All right. I suspect we'll be looking at this bill. You'll be running around the halls of the Capitol at 11 o'clock on day 40, don't you imagine?
More than likely in a conference committee.
All right. Look, thank you both for a very frank conversation. We're going to talk more. In a couple of minutes, we're going to talk about Super Tuesday and what's next up for the race for the president. But first, how well do you know your lawmakers? Senator Elena Parent is a Democrat representing District 42. She was first sworn into the Georgia House in 2011 and served one term as a state representative. She was elected to the Senate in 2014. When she's not working at the Gold Dome, Parent is a litigation attorney. She was raised in Alexandria, Virginia, and attended T.C. Williams High School, where she was a championship rower. Interesting coincidence, the iconic football movie Remember the Titans was based on actual incidents at T.C. Williams. When they shot the movie, they used Druid Hills High School in Atlanta, and that's the district Parent now represents. We'll be back with more lawmakers in just a moment.
There's no sun on your face. You never feel this cold breeze. It's always exactly the same.
Scott Kelly is spending a year in space, traveling over 139 million miles.
If the tragic thing was to happen, I think it's worth it, being part of something larger than yourself.
Tonight at 8 on Why Wednesday, only on GPB.
Did you know that Benjamin Franklin was once the victim of political feuding within Georgia's legislature? In 1768, Franklin was appointed as colonial agent to serve as official liaison between Georgia and England. But when it came time to consider his reappointment, the upper and lower houses of Georgia's assembly were at odds with each other. Franklin was much friendlier with members of the lower house. On this date, March 2nd, 1774, the lower house made a power grab and passed a resolution to keep him on the job. But the upper house balked, and so did Royal Governor James Wright. After a couple of contentious months, Franklin turned the job over to another man and went back home to Philadelphia. Benjamin Franklin, just another Yankee that the Georgians back then sent packing to the north. I'm here on Lawmakers tonight with Senator Emanuel Jones and Senator Greg Kirk. First, I want to thank you for a really frank conversation about your religious liberty bills. Let me give you just a minute. Senate Bill 328, an alternative schools bill. You've been passionate about this bill all session. You talked about it briefly the last time you were here. If you could, briefly describe what you're trying to accomplish and how successful you think you're going to be.
Well, the bill has already passed the Senate. It made it on crossover day, and it's over in the House now. I had a conversation with the Chairman Coleman. But what this bill does is that it limits the amount of time that a child can spend in alternative schools to no more than 2 semesters. In addition to that, those kids that are already in alternative school, it provides a due process clause in it that gives them an opportunity to go back and have their cases reconsidered by the school board.
And the reason that is important is?
Well, right now, a child can go to alternative school and it can be open-ended without any way, any possibility of making it back to the regular school system if the school board desired to do so.
You've got the governor on your side on this one, I understand. Is that right?
This suggestion was really originally made by the governor to me well over 2 years ago during a meeting I had with him.
All right, so you have little reason to think it won't pass by the House. If the House ever decides to get around to taking up Senate bills, which they obviously didn't want to do today, the games have clearly begun, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Super Tuesday last night. Everybody's moved on. They're now heading for Michigan next week, Florida and Ohio the week after that. You both have candidates in this race. Senator Kirk, you're a Ted Cruz man.
I am.
He surprised some of the expectations. He won a number of states last night.
Yeah.
But with Donald Trump sweeping 7 states in Super Tuesday, do you think somewhere down the line, either Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio are going to have to say, enough already, I've got to get out? And which of them should it be?
Well, I think clearly it would be Rubio at this point, because Cruz has more states under his belt than Rubio just has the one that he won last night. And winning Texas was a big thing, and winning Oklahoma and Alaska. So I think Cruz, it is going to take a coming together of those parties to do anything with Trump if anything can be done with him. I'll tell you, he's ran just an unconventional campaign, and it's just been amazing some of the things that he's done. He's brought the crowds out, no doubt.
If he goes ahead and wins the Republican nomination, will you have any problem supporting him for president?
Will I have any problem? I'm going to support him. Yes, I will be. I will support whoever the nomination is from the party.
Okay, Senator Jones, you're a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Yes.
She, once again, clobbered Bernie Sanders last night in the southern states that have large percentages of African American voters. Okay, so here's my question for you. Look, over the course of her career, she obviously has earned the respect of African American voters. I think they believe she's done a lot that is in the interest of your community.
That's correct.
But at what point does she have to be mindful of an ongoing dialogue in which there's conversation about African Americans saying, Democrats, don't try to take us for granted. Is there a danger of that with Hillary Clinton?
I don't see a danger of that in this election. Maybe a few hundred years down the road, we may see something like that. If you look at the party, the Republican Party, and their policies, and how divisive those policies have been, and how critical they've been of people of color, of all ethnic groups, particularly Latinos, I don't see that support for the Democratic nominee changing anytime soon from those persons of color.
How worried are you that the FBI has been investigating, Justice Department could very well, it is a realistic scenario, I'm not suggesting it will happen, that Justice is going to have to make a decision on whether or not to indict Hillary Clinton for this email controversy she's been involved in and whatever else they've been investigating. That's got to be troubling to a Democrat who supports Clinton right now.
It's not troubling at all. There have been other Secretary of States that have come out. Colin Powell did the same thing, said he used his own private email server. Condoleezza Rice used her own private email server. There have been other Secretary of States that have done the exact same thing. If you indict her, indict the others as well.
Senator Kirk, do you really think at this stage that Ted Cruz has a genuine path to the nomination, or are you just sticking with him because he's the guy that you came to the dance with?
Well, I'm sticking with him because he's the guy I came to the dance with for sure. But yeah, there is a path. It's not a clear path by any stretch of imagination. But let me say I am excited about the possibility of indictment of Hillary Clinton.
I'm excited about it, says Republican Senator
Excited
Kirk.
about the collapse of Donald Trump, too.
Real quickly, let's look at the schedule of primaries we've got coming up. You two both might be interested in seeing this as well. I think we've got a screen. March 5th, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Nebraska. We got Hawaii, but the big one on March 8th is going to be Michigan. That's where John Kasich hopes to come back. We've got on the 15th, Florida, which is crucial to Rubio, Ohio, which is crucial to Kasich. The point is, the Republican contest isn't ending anytime soon. even if it appears that Hillary Clinton is on a clear path to winning the Democratic nomination. You can sit back and watch for a while.
And we are.
All right. Senator Greg Kirk, Senator Emanuel Jones, a real pleasure to have both of you here tonight. Thanks for joining us for Lawmakers. And thank you all for being with us again tonight, too. This is the end of day 31. We've got 9 days to go until the gavel comes down for sine die. The General Assembly is going to take a break for a few days. We'll be back for day 32 on Monday. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at GPB News. You can catch up on episodes you've missed on our website, gpb.org/lawmakers. In the meantime, join us on Friday for Political Rewind. We'll be on at 3 o'clock with the best panel of political insiders you could possibly want to listen to. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Bill Nigut. See you next time.